RB. I want to talk about Brexit. I'm afraid this has raised its head once again. When this motion was proposed, which was a couple of months ago, we were still talking about the possibility of extending the transition period. Now, that's going to end on the 1st of January. Today is very significant because the 15th of September, and 1 month from today, is the absolute deadline for any decision to be made about what form of Brexit we're going to have. And as you know, the government has been extremely dilatory about its negotiations. It's been negative in its approach to the European Union. It's been destructive in its policies, which I would say are verging on the kamikaze. We are going to be facing an extreme crisis for the health service, not only because of Brexit, but because it will coincide with a further increase in coronavirus and possibly flu epidemic as well. And we have all the problems listed in the motion, which include, of course, supply chains for drugs and appliances, staffing, problems with Euratom, radionuclide products, and so on and so forth. I don't need to list them all. You've heard them before. The BMA policy has long been that Brexit is bad for your health. I don't need to remind you of that. The problem we face now is that this government is pushing forward in a manner which is completely reckless. Last night's vote in the House of Commons, as you know, demonstrated that the government is prepared to break the law in the name of Brexit. This RB needs to make its voice heard very clearly. We don't want to sound complicit in any of this. I believe, quite frankly, that all of us recognise the damage Brexit will do. We have a duty of care to our 10% of members who are from EU countries. We have a duty of care to our patients. In my opinion, this shouldn't just be passed overwhelmingly. In order to make our view clear, we should pass the motion unanimously. I move.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Dolphin, please, speaking for the motion.
That's very kind. I won't take the RB's time for very long. Just to observe that we've left the EU now. We're in the transition period and there's no going back. There's no possibility of revoking Article 50. We need an extension or we need a deal. And the government has said that they're not going to consider the former, and it appears to be making a dog's breakfast of the latter if last night's vote in the Commons and the reaction to it overseas is anything to go by. We know there are lots of supply failures pending if we have a no-deal Brexit. I think the limited drug supply failures we saw during the pandemic will be a sort of taste of the things to come across the whole pharmacopoeia if we leave without a deal. So we've passed similar policy before. Brexit without a deal remains a terrible idea for the health service, and the BMA should continue to press the case for the government to either extend the transition period or to sort out a deal. So please support.
Thank you, Dr. Dolphin. We only have speakers 4, so I'm going to go to the Chair of Council in reply, please.
Yes, I think Tom is absolutely right that the priority must be for a deal because, and that's why I raised this in my Chair of Council speech this morning, this is going to come at a time when we may have another significant increase in COVID. This nation should not have to cope with another crisis on top of what we're going through already. And so the imperative is for the government to negotiate a deal that secures the nation's health with regards to our relationship with our European neighbours.
Thank you. Peter, there's nothing to reply to, so I would like to ask the RB to vote on the motion as a whole. This is motion 142 from South Central Regional Council, and you're voting on parts 1 to 5. Please vote now. Thank you, RB. And that is overwhelmingly carried. We have 4% against, we have 2% abstentions, and you have shown with this motion very clearly we were in need of some new policy to keep us up to date, and thank you for making that clear. If we go now to motion 201 from the North West Regional Council, don't forget to put some slips in for or against for these motions and the two emergency motions. I seem to be